Why does the life you once dreamed about start feeling inadequate the moment you get used to it? The new kitchen becomes the kitchen. The raise becomes the salary. The hotel view that stunned you on the first night becomes the window you stop opening by the fourth. We call this progress, but sometimes it feels like running toward a finish line that moves backward at exactly our speed. 7 weeks after Mara's $18,000 table arrived, she stood in a larger house 5 blocks away and thought, "This is what our life should feel like." Daniel stood beside her, holding a real estate brochure he had never asked for. Lily was at home drawing a new bedroom inside a house she did not want to leave. Hi, I'm Sarah, and this is Wise Mind Stories. In this episode, you'll discover why upgrades become invisible, why expectations often matter more than income, and how to create an enough line before the world keeps moving it for you. Mara believed she was shopping for more space. By the end of the weekend, Daniel would understand that she was really shopping for a feeling their current house could no longer produce. It began with a comment from Ben. The Ascend team was reviewing images for the launch campaign. One showed a family in an open-plan house with 12-foot windows. Ben looked at Mara and said, "Kind of your place, only with better light." He meant it as a compliment. Mara laughed. Then she went home and noticed every dark corner. Their house had once felt enormous. Mara and Daniel bought it when Lily was 3. They had stood in the empty living room eating pizza from the box because they could not afford a sofa for another month. Mara remembered saying, "Can you believe this is ours?" Now the hallway felt narrow. The kitchen cabinets looked dated. The new table made the dining room seem smaller, as if the object designed to prove they had arrived had revealed that the destination was undersized. That night, Mara opened a real estate app. She told herself she was curious. Curiosity became saved listings. Saved listings became a Saturday tour. The new house had 4 bedrooms, a glass office, and a kitchen island longer than Grandma Joe's entire counter. "We could host everyone," Mara said. Daniel looked through the window at a yard with no trees. "We already host everyone. Not comfortably. Comfortably enough that they keep coming back." The agent pretended to study a light fixture. Mara lowered her voice. "We can afford it." Daniel looked at the price. "We can pay for it." That is not the same sentence. Housel tells the story of Michael May, who had been blind since childhood and regained sight in his 40s after surgery. When the bandages came off, May did not need a cathedral, a mountain, or a masterpiece to experience wonder. An ordinary patterned carpet in the doctor's office astonished him. The carpet had not changed. His point of comparison had. That story reveals why happiness cannot be read directly from the quality of an object. It often comes from the distance between reality and expectation. When reality rises above what you expected, ordinary things can feel miraculous. When expectation rises faster than reality, extraordinary things can feel disappointing. Mara's house had not become smaller. Her measuring stick had become larger. The table, the Ascend campaign, executive homes glimpsed through video calls, and Ben's throwaway comment had quietly reset the baseline. An upgrade changes your life once. An expectation can change it every morning. On the drive home, Mara asked Lily what she thought of the house. "My room had a window seat. You liked that?" "I guess. You could read there." Lily watched familiar streets pass by. "Would I still walk to Grandma's?" "It's only 15 minutes farther." "That means no." Mara wanted to explain equity, school districts, and how lucky Lily was to have choices. Instead, she heard what her daughter had asked. What would the upgrade remove? One of the book's central ideas is that happiness is shaped less by absolute circumstances than by expectations and contrast. That does not mean poverty is a mindset or that money cannot relieve suffering. Money is enormously powerful when it pays for safety, health, time, and freedom. But after basic comfort, the relationship becomes less mechanical. More income can raise reality. It can also raise the life you believe you are entitled to. If both numbers climb together, the emotional distance between them never improves. This is why two people with identical incomes can experience completely different levels of wealth. One sees abundance because reality exceeds the life they require. The other sees failure because expectation remains one step ahead. At Brightcart, Ascend was built to monetize that gap. Mara's team did not say, "Your home is insufficient." They wrote, "You have outgrown ordinary." The sentence tested beautifully. Customers who read it added more items to their carts. Priya projected the results on the conference room wall. "It converts," she said. "I hate that it converts." Mara stared at the phrase. She had spent Saturday inside it. "Maybe customers really have outgrown things," Ben said. "Sometimes," Mara replied. Ben noticed the hesitation. "We sell upgrades, Mara. We sell household goods." "Not anymore." The acquisition had changed the room. Everyone could feel it. Brightcart was no longer trying to help people maintain a home. It was trying to keep home emotionally unfinished. And Mara, who understood the customer better than anyone, was becoming very good at it. 2 days later, Grandma Jo called because her phone had stopped making sound. Mara arrived prepared to replace it. Jo had already fixed it by turning off silent mode. "Since you're here," Jo said, "have some soup." The apartment was small. The balcony held 3 basil plants, a folding chair, and a chipped bowl where sparrows gathered. Jo lived on Social Security and a modest pension. She knew the price of milk at 3 stores. She reused freezer bags until the zippers failed. Mara sometimes treated this as evidence that her mother's world was too narrow. But that afternoon, Jo described a neighbor's new puppy, the tomatoes coming into season, and the mystery novel she had found in the lobby exchange. Nothing in the apartment was new. Jo was delighted anyway. Housel writes about an older relative whose income was roughly $1,700 or $1,800 a month, yet whose days held gardens, walks, birds, family, and contentment. The point is not that hardship is charming, or that everyone should live on little. It is that a person can possess something income alone cannot guarantee. Expectations that leave room for life to exceed them. Mara looked at Jo's scarred kitchen table. "Did you ever want a bigger place?" Jo laughed. "When you lived with me?" "Every day." "I'm serious." "Of course." "Then your father left, and I wanted rent I could pay. Then you moved out, and I wanted neighbors who noticed if I fell. Wanting changes." Jo pushed the soup toward her. "The trick is knowing when a new want is information, and when it is just noise." Mara thought of the glass office. "How do you know?" Jo looked toward the balcony, where 2 sparrows were fighting over the chipped bowl. "Noise gets louder when other people are around." Mara had assumed her mother's contentment came from not knowing what she was missing. That was the reversal. Jo knew exactly what larger, newer, and more expensive looked like. She had cleaned homes in neighborhoods where a single bathroom was larger than her apartment kitchen. Her contentment was not ignorance. It was selection. She had decided which forms of more deserved to enter her expectations. Mara had done the opposite. She allowed every new image to apply for authority. Enough is not an amount you discover, it is a boundary you defend. That evening, Daniel showed Mara a spreadsheet. The larger house would require a higher mortgage, taxes, insurance, maintenance, and the private school commute Mara had recently begun mentioning. "We can make the payment," he said, "but here is what disappears." He highlighted the travel fund, then the possibility of reducing his hours to lead a neighborhood transit project, then the emergency runway they had built over 8 years. Mara felt cornered. "Why are you acting like I want to destroy our life?" "Because you keep describing our life as something we should replace." He said it quietly. That made it worse. Lily stood in the hallway. Neither of them had heard her. "Are we moving?" she asked. "No decision has been made," Mara said. Lily nodded, but her face changed. For the next week, she packed small objects into a shoebox. The bus map from her wall, a stone from Grandma's balcony planter, the tiny cardboard bench. Mara thought the house search was hypothetical. Lily had already begun grieving. Housel uses stories of extreme hardship, including explorers and shipwrecked crews, to show the power of contrast. Relief can produce intense happiness because the baseline has fallen so far. The lesson is not to manufacture suffering. It is to understand why constant upgrading destroys its own emotional return. Luxury experienced every day becomes the background. The first hotel breakfast feels abundant. By the fifth, you notice the coffee is lukewarm. The first year in a larger home feels expansive. Then the unused room becomes a room to furnish. Pleasure often needs contrast to remain visible. That is why the goal cannot be permanent elevation of every standard. If every meal is special, special becomes the minimum. If every purchase is premium, premium becomes invisible. Mara canceled the second house tour. Not the idea of ever moving, only the urgency. She and Daniel sat at the expensive table after Lily went to bed. "I don't want to be ungrateful," Mara said. "Then don't make gratitude another performance." "What does that mean?" "You don't have to pretend the house is perfect. Just stop letting every imperfection become an emergency." Mara ran her finger along the scratch beside Lily's repaired bench. The table was no longer flawless. It was also no longer invisible. The mark gave it contrast. For the first time since it arrived, Mara saw it again. Today's action is one sentence. Choose a category where your expectations keep moving home. Travel, clothes, restaurants, education, technology, and write an enough line. Make it concrete and personal. Our home is enough while it is safe, affordable, and keeps us near the people we love. My phone is enough while it reliably does the work I need. A vacation is enough when we return with one shared memory, not one perfect photograph. This is not a lifetime ban on upgrading. It is a pre-written definition that must be challenged with evidence, not advertising. When a new desire appears, ask whether your life changed or your comparison set changed. If your needs changed, reconsider the line. If the noise changed, defend it. Mara wrote hers on the back of the real estate brochure. This house is enough while it keeps Lily near Grandma, gives each of us room to work, and leaves us money to choose our time. She placed it in the kitchen drawer. The next morning, she found Lily's shoebox by the front door. Mara carried it upstairs. "We're not moving," she said. Lily studied her. "Ever?" "Not because somebody made one comment about our light." Lily smiled. Then she removed the stone from Grandma's planter and placed it back on her shelf. The house did not become larger, but reality rose above expectation by one small, beautiful inch. And for that morning, it felt like enough. Mara thought the house was shrinking. In reality, her expectations were expanding. That is today's insight. Happiness is not only what your money can raise, it is also the distance between the life you have and the life you require. Write one enough line today. Make the next upgrade Prove that your needs changed, not merely your comparison set. Subscribe to Wise Mind Stories if you want a richer life that does not require a permanently rising finish line. Mara has defended her house, but the spreadsheet Daniel showed her contains a more dangerous truth. The new table, the lifestyle, and the Ascend promotion are already narrowing how much risk she can take at work. Soon, Brightcart will ask her to support something she believes is wrong, and Mara will discover that a high income can buy almost anything except the courage to lose it. Next episode, teaser. Ascend's early numbers are strong, but Priya finds that the customers buying fastest are also the ones most likely to regret it. When Ben asks Mara to bury the warning before acquisition talks, Mara will face the test hidden behind every impressive salary. Can your money protect your right to say no?